Hey everyone, Tony D with a quick hot take about last night's Antifa riots. Whoa, things are getting pretty dicey out there. Tim Pool has a great report today, his 10 o'clock report on the subject. Check it out. And of course, as always, check out Andy No's Twitter feed. He always has footage from that. And who's the other one? CB watches Austin Zone, I think his name is, and he does like live feeds of the Portland riots, and they're nuts. They're absolutely nuts. The escalation this time, according to Tim, were two different things. Number one, somebody got stabbed, or possibly two people. They're not quite sure, but some guy wandering around the zone put his arm around an Antifa guy who then stabbed him. Now, some people are saying, "Well, you shouldn't have touched that dude," and that is some mitigation. You don't touch people, no. But that dude shouldn't have stabbed anybody. He is an idiot for stabbing anybody. He's in a lot of trouble. And then the rumor is a mob of Antifa guys beat him up, or stomped him, or whatever. I don't know if that's true. I saw the video of the alleged stabbing, and then I saw the video of the alleged beatdown. Didn't look like the same guy. The stabber was wearing some kind of crazy red overalls. Looked like he worked in a fish market or something. And then the guy who got beaten up by Antifa appeared to be in like all black with like a big motorcycle helmet. So I'm not sure they were the same people. But it's chaos. It's absolute chaos in Portland. The other uptick is they've brought in welding torches to actually cut through the fence barricades. So, is it a riot yet, CNN? That's pretty crazy that they'll actually bring in tools. And Ted Wheeler, you are an idiot for allowing this to go on, for calling this peaceful. How can you call guys who bring in acetylene torches to cut through fences set up by the federal government protesters? That's not protesting. You cannot possibly justify that as protesting. Martin Luther King and his, Selma March, they didn't have weapons. They didn't have torches. They marched. It was just them. If they had any of that stuff, the cops would have killed them. And, keep in mind, the feds could come in and wipe these people out if they wanted to, but they're not. In any other normal city under different times, it never would have gotten this far. And if it did, the mayor would come in with the cops and arrest everybody. Everybody would be going to jail. Because who wants to tolerate this? But it's all because Hillary Clinton lost in 2016, and no one liked that. Hillary Clinton losing in 2016, just accept it, for Christ's sake. How many more nights of this are we going to see? It's just a 24-hour commercial to re-elect Trump anyway. People are going to federal prison. I told you, Antifa, you're going to jail. You're talking about people who went up against the feds. Again, if the local cops had arrested you and charged you and put you in the county lockup, you would have had a couple of weeks to think about it. Maybe you would have had to do some community service. Now you're going to federal prison. Now you're going to big boy prison. Now, some of my commenters said it's not as bad as actual prison, but that's a huge step up from the county lockup. I gotta figure. Huge step up. And for these noodly armed college students to go to federal prison and not even like do a couple runs in county, yeah, I think there should be a slow uptick, and you could blame that all on Ted Wheeler and the local governments and Seattle too. The big push is supposedly tonight in Seattle. That's what Tim's reporting. And, there's going to be more federal officers. and they're going to be protecting the courthouse and the federal property. And I don't see how any of the court cases are going to overturn that. How are you going to argue in front of a judge credibly? Well, Your Honor, you see, there are these rioters, and they need to burn down the courthouse. If the federal guys weren't there to protect it, they wouldn't be attempting to do that. See, they would all go home. They're angry because federal officers are in a federal building. Yeah, you're not going to be able to argue that. And speaking of Antifa, today on the Webcomic Factory is the anti-war comic where everybody gets pissed off at me. So check that out, because I have a sort of satire of how the media would react if a right-wing group did a protest of sorts. And obviously it's satire, so enjoy that. But the media is still running interference, and the media is, in general, is just falling apart anyway. Nobody pays attention to it. Certainly not any of the people young enough to be protesting. They don't get their news that way anymore. Very few people do. It's just old people who watch TV. People my age and above who still watch television. They're still under that old order of like, yeah, I got cable TV, I watch the news, I watch a few shows, I go to bed, I get up from work. However many people those still exist. A lot of people got to cut their cable because they're broke. They don't have a job. So, getting your news off of Facebook and all these other platforms, that's becoming the norm, which is why so many people are ill-informed, or they believe in conspiracy theories now. And I'll get into a little of that in the next video. But getting back to Antifa, these guys need to be put in jail. They need to be brought back into reality. County lockup would have been the perfect place for them. Could have locked them all up, kept them there for days, really inconvenienced them, and it would have shook them out of their communist haze. Some of them, not all of them. Some of them are too committed. But a lot of them would have said, do I really want this? Now I got a record. This sucks. The judge says if I get caught again, it'll be 2 months. Man, they stole my shoes and they beat me up. And, that's the kind of stuff that happens to you in jail. They steal your shoes and they push you around. You get beat up. You don't have any privacy. It's awful. It's awful. And in federal prison, it's even worse. So, and the sentences are going to be bigger in federal prison too. You go to county lockup, the place is already brimming with people. They want to get people quickly out of there. To give you an actual sentence to actually serve, you got to be pretty bad. So it'd be unlikely. Some places are just like, well, you have to sleep there. You can go to work, you can go to college, but then at night and in the weekends, you got to spend time in the jail. A friend of mine got locked up that way. So that's one way it could be done. Another way, and that's awful in and of itself. My friend was telling me, it was the worst thing ever. It was an absolute horror show. And my friend refused to bathe, and that's how they kept people away from them. So they'll tip there, Antifa. If you don't want to get messed up, refuse to bathe, and then maybe they'll leave you alone because you stink so bad. Probably a short leap for a lot of you. But in federal prison, if you end up going to federal prison, they're not going to send you there for a week. They don't send they don't bother with those kind of low sentences in federal prison. I don't think they could possibly be that low. If you go to federal prison, you're going to be there for like a year, 6 months at least. And some of you people are going to be there for a couple of years, if not 10 years, for attacking. They don't just go after anybody for federal crimes. They're going after you because you're openly committing federal crimes. So the sentences aren't going to be that light. Which means, even if you're only there for 6 months, that can mess you up. It'll really mess you up. And you're not going to get off for good behavior for a 6-month sentence. the bureaucracy there alone, you know, getting by the time it catches up to you, you're going to be released anyway. And imagine your family having to visit you and the shame in that. They already probably are ashamed of you for being an Antifa and being a communist. Now you're going to be in prison. Listen, you got to stop. If you're in Portland and you're involved in any way with these riots, stop. Burn the hoodie. Delete all your accounts. Get out of Portland. Get out of Seattle. Because this weekend, you're going to prison.